The debate was going on in the late 2000s when M&P 40 was introduced, and it was trying to compete with the Glock 22 and the Glock 23, especially for law enforcement agencies. Then a lot of law enforcement agencies switched calibers from 40 to 9. So then a lot of other platforms too entered the market share, but for the main part we have Glock, Smith & Wesson, and SIG competing for market share with law enforcement agencies and civilians as well. So today I have the M&P 40 Generation 1 and the Glock 22 as a comparison. Unfortunately, I won't be able to take it to the range on this video, but I promise that I will be doing a review of the M&P 40 Generation 1, and I'll be going to the range, shooting it, and kind of give you my thoughts on it. So grab your cup of coffee, or favorite tea or beer. Let's head over to the table and look at these two guns. Alright, comparing the M&P Generation 1 and the Glock 22 Generation 340. First of all, let's look at the magazines. And both guns are completely cleared. So let's look at the magazines. The Glock's magazine is polymer with like this metal lips on top, and it holds 15 rounds. So the gun itself holds 15 plus 1. The M&P is a metal magazine, and it holds 15 rounds plus 1 in the chamber, so it's 15 plus 1. Nice thing of Glock is that you can change the magazines. They have compatibility with other mags, and the aftermarket support is pretty good. I've carried this thing for about 4 years so far, about 60 hours a week. It's been very reliable. I don't have as much experience with this Glock right here, but I trust both of them with reliability. Let's look at the rail system. Glock, you can put a light on it or a laser. Same thing with the M&P. Now, the Picatinny rail here is pretty nice from M&P. Like, I really like that. Now here's the width comparison here. It's about the same. It's not that big of a difference. Now, trying to compare apples to apples. The grip on the M&P is smooth, and on the Glock, it's got the finger grooves in it. Some people really like this stuff. Some people really hate it, like myself. It's all down to a matter of preference. Now, I know the Generation 5 doesn't have the grooves anymore, but I'm comparing Generation 1 to Generation 3, kind of like the same timeline that they came out, or that they were around at least. The slide. The serrations here on the M&P, in my opinion, they feel better than the Glocks. They just kind of grip a little bit better, in my opinion. And then when we close it, looking at the slide here, the nice thing of the M&P is that you can do a press check. By just looking in here, it tells you whether there is a round in the chamber or not. Whereas Glock, it's pretty hard to know that. Now, the slide stop. The M&P has an ambidextrous slide stop. You can hit it on this side here. You can use it if you're left-handed. You can just hit it and load your gun, close the slide. The Glock does not. The Generation 3 does not. I know Generation 5 does, but Generation 3 does not. The other big thing on the slide is the sight system. Hopefully you can see there. The Glock has the usual square on it, whereas the M&P has the 2 dots in the rear. Personally, I like the 2 dots better than the square. Again, that comes down to preference, what you train with, what you get used to, what you end up liking. Now, in terms of the trigger, Glock has the safety mechanism where if you don't press the lever in the middle, it's not gonna move. But then once you press the lever, you hit the wall, and then it breaks. The M&P does not have that kind of safety. Now M&P, they have come with safety in the like in the generation 1. You could get it with the safety on it. This one does not, and personally I'm not a fan of safeties on guns like that, but some people really like having the option of having a safety on it. Now Glock, from what I know, is that they don't offer like a thumb safety on it. Anyway, let's look at the trigger here. So the trigger just walks, hit the wall, takes a little bit more force than the Glock, and then it goes. The trigger is a lot better in the Glock, I think. No, it's just way better, just crispier. It takes a lot less force. The M&P, nah, not so much. No, M&P guys in the past, they went with the Apex trigger system, and that's, from my understanding, it's kind of what the M&P 2.0 trigger system was. They were looking at people upgrading it from Apex, and they were like, oh, okay, like we need to upgrade this thing. And same thing with Glock, they upgraded their triggers, but for the Generation 3 here and the Generation 1, the trigger Glock is a lot better. Now the grip, the way this feels on my hands and everything is just way better with the M&P. With the Glock, it's a little bit more robust. The safety, I mean the magazine release, Glocks on the Generation 3 was kind of small and it's way out there. It's a little bit hard for a person like me with shorter fingers to press and release the magazine. Whereas the M&P, with the way the grip is set up and the magazine release being here, it's a little bit easier, but these little serrations here on the magazine do feel a little bit better on the Glock. The overall feel of the gun, just the M&P feels a lot better. Like the ergonomics of it, it just feels a lot better in my hands. Whereas the Glock, it just feels a little bit more robust. Now in the assembly of them, we can see the pin right here, and right underneath the lever, the takedown lever on the M&P, there's a pin right there too, and those two hold components inside the trigger assembly, or the parts that hold the trigger housing and all that stuff. Same thing with Glock, two pins. This pin right here, it's for the trigger housing. Let's look at how we take down this gun. So the Glock, very easy. Make sure it's unloaded. You press these two takedown pins here, or the little lever here, and then it just comes out like that. The M&P, you have to rack the slide back. There is this little cut right here. Hopefully you guys can see it. There's a little cut in there, and that's for your takedown lever to flip. Once you do that, the proper way to take apart the slide, to take it down, there is a little lever inside the gun, like right next to the trigger, that you can use like some scissors or a punch. So there's a little lever in there, or you can, hopefully I can. Well, once I open up the gun, I'll probably be able to show you guys. But yeah, there's a little lever in there. You let it close the slide, and then it opens up. Some people, what they do is, instead of flipping that little lever in it, they just close the slide and then they press the trigger. I've done it like that for the longest time because I didn't know that you could just flip the lever and take it down that way. And I never had issues with this gun. Like I said, I've had it for a very long time, and I've shot many rounds through it. I think I've shot about 7,000 rounds through it, maybe. Let's take down the lever, the spring. Do the same thing with the Glock. Now comparing the slides, the Glock has the fire pin safety here closer to the fire pin, whereas the M&P has it all the way back here. The takedown is pretty similar. Like you press the the safety pin, and then you move the striker a little bit back, and then you take down the cover in the back, and then you can take out the striker, the firing pin, and clean it up and do whatever you need to do. Recoil springs are about the same. Not much of a difference. Again, these are generation 3 and generation 1, so they're pretty comparable there. The barrel on the Glock 22, it's a little bit longer than the M&P 40. Probably a quarter of an inch there. Let's look at here at the internals. The Glock has the rails here. It's got the trigger housing. Taking it apart and whatnot, that would be much more in depth. The M&P, you have your spring down here. You have the trigger housing. Now when you take apart the trigger housing, like all the parts come apart, and you can clean each one of them. Then you can clean underneath the gun, which I have done. The takedown lever that I was talking about is this little lever right there. It's got a little bit of a green color to it right now. It's actually always had that little green color on it. Let me see if I can get a close-up of it. There it is. It's that little green part right there. Let's see if I can get it with my pinky. It's right there. That's what you use to take apart the gun slide. So those are the main differences with the two guns. Now I'm gonna put them back together. The plug is pretty simple. Now when you oil this gun for the Glock, it's very nice that you just put a little bit of oil in them on the rails and like on the groove right here. Just grab like a little cloth with just a little bit of oil and put it on the recoil spring. I believe that's about all you need for oil on that one. And there it is. With the M&P, when I oil it, I tend to do about the same as the Glock. So put oil on the rails, and then a little bit of oil, just minute amount on the slide grooves. But then where it differentiates with the Glock, at least for myself, is I have to put oil on the fitting ramp. I've had issues with magazines in the past. Well, at least two magazines in the time that I've had this gun. Even with good magazines and whatnot, I still have to put oil in the fitting ramp. Otherwise, I have issues, and I don't know specifically why. Could be that it's out of spec. Could be the recoil spring definitely needs to be replaced. Anyway, so that's what I do with that one. Just make sure that the takedown lever that I showed you, you flip it up as you're going to reassemble the gun. Otherwise, your gun is not gonna, the trigger is not gonna work. Put your slide there. Also, on both of them, put just a little bit, like very, very minute amount of oil on the barrel. Like with the same cloth that you put oil around the recoil spring, grab the same cloth and then just kind of wipe it around the barrel of the gun on either one. Let's talk about some of the issues that I have had with either one. With Glock, the main issue that I've had was with my Glock 19. I don't carry my Glock 19, like I don't take care of it as much as I would with this gun. Now, granted, this gun I carry it 60 plus hours a week where I used to. Now it's more like 40 hours a week. The Glock, when I have taken it out or whatever, I just have not taken care of it. I just throw it in a bag with tools and whatnot. And what that caused was for the sights to move over to the right. And over at the Glock match, they just fixed it quickly, and then I took it to the gun range and I fixed it dial it in to where I wanted it to be. With the M&P, I haven't had issues with the sights, but the only issue that I had was magazines going bad. And I know a lot of people that have had the issue with the takedown, with the magazine takedown. Now, I believe this part right here is made out of plastic, and that tends to break quite a bit. And it also depends, I think, on how the gun is being gripped, how strong of a thumb you have, and whatnot. Some other people have had issues with magazines falling out of the magazine well without pressing this button, and then when there are questions about it, some people have said like, no, I have seen it where people is like they grab their gun, they shoot the round, and then the magazine comes out flying from underneath, and then they're like, well, you were pressing the thing, the magazine takedown. And so then somebody else goes and tries it, and it's like the same thing happens again. So then they have to like fix whatever part inside. They take it to the gunsmith, fix it, and then like it breaks down again later down the road. I haven't had that issue personally. This gun has been very reliable for myself, but that is a big issue that I have seen people have. And again, my issue has been the feeding ramp. And then once I oil it, then it's completely fine. You know, I can go a couple hundred rounds without a malfunction. Now, another thing is that with Glock, I have gone, I don't know, maybe 500 rounds or more without cleaning it and without having a malfunction. With the M&P, I've only pushed it maybe to like 400 without cleaning it, and just kind of like just testing how well they will do. But both of them have been pretty reliable. Granted, like one doesn't go to the gun range and shoot like that much, at least average people like us. In terms of accuracy, I can tell you for sure that this one, the Glock 22, and this comes down to how comfortable it feels in my hand. It does not shoot as accurate as the M&P. The M&P just feels great in my hand. I really like shooting this thing. I know a lot of people kind of hate this thing, but I'm one of those odd people that really like M&P over Glock, at least for these generations. Final thoughts. Well, the M&P does feel better, at least for myself, ergonomically. I cannot deny that the Glock has much more better reliability, and customer service wise, I have had experience with them, and it's pretty good for the most part. You can send in your gun and they'll replace like the extractor or something like that and put one of the new ones in. But choosing one of the two platforms comes down to preference, of course. So if you guys found this video helpful, go ahead and hit that like button, share, and subscribe. It only helps the channel grow slowly and steadily. We'll get there someday. And I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.